Indigenous Anjija Kandodem, Misanabi and Donjba. May good Creator for letting me walk this earth today and for bringing us together virtually so that we can work together to care for Mother Earth in a good way. Please watch over us and keep us safe and bring peace to our countries so that we and our children and grandchildren and future generations are able to live life in a peaceful, loving way. Miigwech. Okay. So today we have with us Chris Mcdonnel. He's presenting to us. He's from Green First Forest Products. I'll let you introduce yourself in a minute, but I'll just tell them the title is Transitioning to Herbicide Alternatives, a Progress Report and Discussion of the Next Steps. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you so much, Isabel, not only for organizing this session today, but for the previous 12 that have come and for all your work. Everyone sees the name Green First on the screen. Of course, there are many acknowledgements to offer in regard to the history of the Herbicide Alternatives Program, which has migrated, originated with Tembec and then through Rainier Advanced Materials and now Green First, but essentially many of the same participants have been involved through the time period. So very much appreciate the opportunity. There are a lot of acknowledgements while I may be speaking here today and have that opportunity. The accomplishments, the work in progress, and where we need to go going forward involves so many others who have contributed so significantly to the initiation of the effort, to sustaining it, and as well to what I'll talk to a little bit later about growth and expansion of the activities that have brought expertise and capacity and energy to the initiative. And so I want to recognize here Indigenous leaders, past and present, who have been so instrumental, to community members, to Lands and Resources staff, elders and advisors, Wakatoan staff and guardians, Mushkegowuk Environmental Research Center staff prior to that, hugely instrumental to and continue to be in terms of on the ground application of activities related to the Herbicide Alternatives Program. The participation of staff and leaders, researchers, and those that have supported funding for the Canada Initiative and others from provincial and federal agencies, very much appreciated. And as well, forestry staff, past, present, new, that and all that work with them in the forest to undertake forest renewal, to undertake assessments, develop forest management plans. It really has been and remains very much an important element of those tasked with moving forestry forward in a good and new way. What I'd like to do is provide just a brief overview of where we've come from, where the initiative has come from, where we are today, and promising practices that remain to be tapped and will be meaningful in the achievement of the ultimate goal of applying herbicide alternatives. Back in 2009, 2010, that's really when within Tembec there was active discussion to really recognize that the use of herbicides not only was recognized as being controversial and of concern to Indigenous communities, to environmental organizations, and to others, but that there needed to be a strategy, an active engagement, an active, purposeful, effort to seek out alternatives and apply them to make meaningful and sustained progress to the objective of renewing forests in the absence of chemical herbicide use where that was possible. And at the same time, it was recognized that the company operates, and it's still true today, companies operate on lands that are Indigenous traditional territory. There are provincial regulations associated with forest management. There are registered professional foresters accountable for developing forest management plans, but yet all of these layers of governance and interest needed to come together to work towards solutions that achieve the dual objective of renewing forests successfully, to regenerating forests in different ways going forward. They're using different tools, so in recognizing the concerns around herbicide use. And in regenerating forests, the objectives related to that are multi-pronged, and certainly I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. And so by 2012, a steering committee was formed that undertook to develop a strategy. On the picture on the right, you see it's a signboard indicating the 300 millionth tree planted on the Gordon Cousins Forest. And while I'm not sure where the count is at the present, it's much more than that. But you see there's been a long history of planting trees, of renewing the forests, and a long history of that requires a long-term view on renewing the forest, and leveraging that expertise is extremely important to identifying ways in which to continue that work in an enhanced way using alternative approaches. I mentioned the objectives of forestry, or in the original objective, renewing the forest is at the core. The foresters and forestry need not rely on herbicide use. It's a tool. It's one that has certain benefits, as we know, but at the same time, renewing the forest, returning certain amounts of spruce, pine, and balsam coniferous trees is important not only for wildlife, for wood products, but also it's essentially they're essential components of wildlife habitat at all different scales. Excuse me, and at the landscape level, and for the health of ecosystems over time. And so in other words, the objective of achieving herbicide alternatives is meshed with ensuring that forests are returned to the species composition that they were originally as laid out in forest management plans and in various provincial documents such as the landscape guide. So looking to maintain the composition of the forest over time, and at the same time needing to keep in mind the impacts of climate change. And so there's the duality of the challenge of looking at how to reduce and ultimately eliminate herbicide use, while at the same time delivering the same sorts of expectations for habitat and values that forests bring. The group back in 2015 developed a variety of goals. These were derived through a number of meetings of the parties, interspersed with field trips to Quebec, field trips to forestry operations, to hearing and meeting with various experts in the area of silviculture and forest management. And these goals over the first number of years provide some structure to the effort. And you see from those some really critical aspects in terms of reporting, of tracking, the recognition of Indigenous knowledge from the very beginning, the recognition that it wasn't just a forum for discussion, but taking knowledge and applying it, as well the need to engage practitioners, forest managers, to provide new tools and support to apply techniques in their forestry operations. The forests and forest managers are audited frequently by external agencies, province of Ontario, against the objectives in forest management plans. And so it wasn't our objective to create stress or anxiety or unduly for forest managers, but to challenge, support, and work hand in hand with practitioners as we sought and applied alternatives to herbicide as part of the silviculture strategies. Communicating with external parties, policy advocacy or engagement with other organizations such as natural resources agencies, that became important along the way, and has been greatly enhanced by the work of Wakatoan, the partnership with Wakatoan, the website, as well as I'm sure the work of many of you to communicate the importance of this activity. Back in 2016, and I just found one of the older slides there, and it just identified some of the areas of focus back in that time frame, and a number of these continue today, and a couple represent some ongoing opportunities, and another one or two I'll speak to have been things that we've struggled with, and so the consideration of the use of herbicides is really involves thinking about the whole sequence of forestry planning, not just a conversation when you're at the forest and there's planted trees and there's a lot of other vegetation all around. That certainly is an important time for discussion, but also looking way in the beginning as plans are being created, and these are 10-year forest management plans and this remains an ongoing engagement and effort, and I think is being enhanced by the customized consultation agreements in place with a number of communities in a part of the area, but looking to identify areas of concern far in advance. Isabel Allen uses the phrase "boots on the ground." That became a very significant and remains a very important part of the approach to reducing herbicide use. Is while recognizing that assessing forests by helicopter, by walking through are all important and all very valid, and especially when undertaken by local practitioners. The opportunity to stratify areas, to collect some data, to assess the range of vegetation that's competing in our view with planted trees, and it has been really important. Been very important as a benchmark for other types of observations, and we appreciate the work of Ken Lennon in developing the initial version of the vegetation surveys and the ongoing work of staff from Wakatoan to execute. The also in terms of achieving an objective to reduce something, is somewhat similar to improving the gas mileage on your vehicle. If you want to lower your fuel consumption, how can you use technology to minimize the amount of application? And so a lot of effort placed on the while we're in the process of seeking alternatives, how can we, where we do apply herbicide, use as little as possible. In areas of ground spraying and mechanical tending and mulching, there have been trials in some of these areas. I'll speak a little bit later about the mechanical tending. But these are areas that have shown some promise, but remain to be looked at more carefully in the future. With larger seedlings, I would say this is an area that we know larger seedlings can be grown. We know larger seedlings are an important part in Quebec of a non-herbicide approach. Our challenge is the decision support associated with larger seedlings, how to where best to place them to support a herbicide alternative objective. And so through our work, we've essentially a few years ago reviewed all of our seedling supply sources and quality standards, and feel very comfortable with the quality of seedlings that we have. And that also relates to the seed sources and the production of those seedlings. That said, further work is anticipated related to as other decision support tools around the ecosite information become available, to contemplate the strategic deployment, where would be the proper locations and the amounts of for larger seedlings, and of what species. Mentioned here mixed forests, with a mix of softwood and hardwood trees. Those forests tend to be very productive, often representing some of the more challenging sites in which to renew them successfully. And so we've appreciated the engagement of Gord Kayahara in helping us think through those strategies, and look forward to more of that. As I mentioned, on the technology side of the discussion, without going into a lot of detail, the much higher precision of technology has allowed the achievement of reductions in herbicide use, lesser application, more precise application, and that has been a contributing factor to achieving reductions. And that precision is important, and remains essential as we continue to reduce use. Applying where herbicide is applied is extremely precise. I know many of you have seen this slide, and you've probably seen it the same way you're seeing it here, with a very small wording and a bunch of boxes. But what I wanted to show here is have you focus on the text in bold. And the text in bold is essentially a summary of what the boxes say. And I call these off ramps, or I really refer to these areas as within a decision support tree. And this is a tool where and over time we're adding more of these off ramps. We're building out more of these decisions based on the forest composition, based on community input, based on the objectives for renewing the forest, wildlife habitat that lead to non-herbicide approaches. So you see, these off ramps happen at different levels. I mentioned earlier about forest management plan development, which is an activity that takes place in advance of a 10-year forest management plan. Activities occur in annual work schedule review. Activities occur during the course of a season, as various surveys and assessments are undertaken, during various permitting processes, and through engagement with communities. So on the right-hand side, you see the impact of guardian surveys by Wakatoan at present. Could be other communities working with us as well. You see mention of moose browse, areas where moose browse might be in limited supply. Clearly, where there's natural regeneration, that provides the source for renewal of the forest. That is today I would say the most significant portion of the forests that are in a non-herbicide approach. At least 2/3, and it would vary by forest, but at least 2/3 of areas that are harvested would be regenerating naturally. That always and has been and will remain an important approach to returning the good species back to the forest after harvesting. You see mention related to field verification jointly, Indigenous values, and so on. So there's various means in which, as we work through, forest managers are thinking about how to renew the forest in the absence of herbicides. In terms of status of, so where have we come from? Where are we? This is focused here on the Chapleau Game Preserve. This slide. So this and this refers to the portion of the Chapleau Game Preserve that's on the Gordon Cousins Forest, as well as the portion on the Martel Forest. And the Game Preserve, I show this information because the Game Preserve was the initial focus of the HAP initiative over the first number of years. The green line, the yellow line or orange line, however you're seeing it there, represents the actual amount of herbicide used each year, going back to 2007. And the green line is just a way of smoothing out that curve. It's called a 5-year rolling average. So it's just taking the average of the previous 5 years and plotting that. So it can be more helpful in indicating trends. You see there's various spikes and troughs, and that's reflected on a forest like on an area like this, which is about 500,000 hectares. The amount of harvesting activity previously can be somewhat variable, as well as weather events or in August and early September affect the implementation of a tending program. So, but you see there through the 2010-11 period through to certainly 2015-16, significant efforts applied, and this is where the vegetation survey approach was. It wasn't in place in those early days, but it became it was developed during that time frame, and then has been deployed ever since. And you see with the green line, it's flattening out a bit. While there's been a substantial drop in use, we remain. There remains a gap. There remains something in the order of a few hundred hectares of area per year, something in the order of 5, 6, up to 700 hectares per year, depends on the year. That remains challenging in terms of figuring out how to renew those areas with a non-herbicide approach, and that's been a substantive reduction. Looking more broadly, the second graph shows the same type of information over a much larger area. I call them green first managed tenures. By that, I mean, as it says on the right, the Gordon Cousins Forest, the Romeo Millette Forest, as well as what is now called the Missinabie Forest. The data here includes the Martel portion of that forest. And this is data that's accurate up until November, through the end of the 2021 calendar year. And you see, again, a similar trend as on the much smaller game preserve area. This area here is over about 4 million hectares. And you, again, the two lines show in blue the actual amounts of herbicide applied each year. And then the line is an average of the previous 5 years that shows the trend. And so what I find very very interesting about this is, that there's no question that the engagement of various participants and different, what I call step changes in the introduction of new expertise, of new ideas and resources has had a meaningful impact in the continuing journey to reduce herbicide use. And so around 2011, 2012, Merck, which was called the Mushkegowuk Environmental Research Center at the time, was the first partner for a number of years through we didn't call it HAP 1.0 at the time, but through that phase, significant activity. You do see these peaks and valleys, which are more reflective of weather events related to the weather. If weather conditions are not appropriate for safe and effective tending of forests, then the program is shortened or curtailed in some way. And you see around 2016, 2017, through the formation of Wakatoan and its member communities, right off the bat, a sustained interest and strong advocacy by the Wakatoan communities and other communities to maintain and not only maintain, but to double down on the efforts. And what that brought as well is the focus on boots on the ground, on activity, on more decision support and assistance related to evaluating forests on the ground. And more recently, and very much appreciative of the enhanced the contributions, the partnerships of a host of science staff from Natural Resources Canada who have joined in, and we're starting we have over the past year or so, and we'll continue to see the benefits of those efforts as we go forward, that again start to help us look at ecological classification of forests in advance of harvest, so that we have better tools to assess and use different silviculture options and contemplate those prior to harvest. And so as we so clearly, so clearly, a lot of effort. I haven't chosen to put percent reductions on the slide here because the percents of reduction depend on what timeframes that you choose. The raw data is available, and folks can choose to analyze that. But certainly, since the early days, overall, herbicide use down in the order of 50% or so, but it depends on the timeframes that you use. So, but you see the trends, and our objective here is to keep closing that gap on the right hand side of the screen. And to do that, I was very much saw the timely presentation of Kim Chapman and colleagues. Kim presented, but the work of many, really building an ecological framework to support decisions. The land area of the forest is very large, yet the diversity, the variety of forest sites are very local, very specific, and so that type of decision support is very useful to practitioners to be able to think about the forest composition in specific areas and devise strategies that will renew the forest successfully. Natural regeneration remains obviously it's oversimplified to say continued efforts. Of course, I mentioned earlier about 2/3 or so of forests are harvested, are renewed that way. all the time. Some of the evaluation work that we do shows us in some cases, not all, but in some cases, if we're more patient, natural regeneration will come in over time. Sometimes it won't. Understanding how to encourage and enhance natural regeneration where possible is a focus. And as mentioned, mixed forests remain an important focus. I'll talk in a moment about a new opportunity. It's in some ways an old opportunity, but essentially an opportunity to enhance the tree seedlings that are planted. And I'll talk about that in a moment. The dipping of seedlings in a mycorrhizal treatment. And mycorrhizal is naturally occurring fungi that are in the soil that bond with the root system of the plant to facilitate growth of roots and uptake of nutrients. As I mentioned earlier, larger tree seedlings remains a tool in the toolkit. One we haven't worked out with comfortably yet. The vegetation survey work that has been undertaken over the last few years, I believe, gives us an opportunity to mine that information, to look at the specific species of vegetation that are mixed in with the tree seedlings. Look at the biology of those plants and really attempt to learn from that survey information in a way that it can support the ecosite information that we have. So as is a common practice to collect the information and then use it in the short term, how can we compile that information in aggregate and use that data to inform future decision making and future assessments? I have essentially a bit of a personal interest and objective of creating a mechanical brushing team that could undertake release work in certain areas on short notice as a part of a HAP initiative. Using mechanical brushing is not a new technique. It occurs in all sorts of forests. A lot of logistics, a lot of coordination, but this is an area where there certainly is space and room for this type of activity in certain portions of the forest in the summer and fall, early fall period. Just to add a little more information on this mycorrhizal project, which through the leadership of Wakatoan and an organization called Microtech, which is based in Timmins, some funding's been received over a 5-year period to support the application of the mycorrhizal formulation that will be locally developed to be specific to the forests where the trees that will be deployed will be planted. That will be the origin of the mycorrhizae. This is as mentioned, mycorrhizae naturally occur in the forest. The intent is to have mycorrhizae that are from forest sites onto the tree seedlings, so that as opposed to today, mycorrhizae are part of all trees. It's in the ground naturally, but I understand that in tree nurseries, often the species of mycorrhizae may not be as suited to the specific sites that the seedlings are being planted onto. We have a lot to learn, and so in partnership with Natural Resources Canada, in partnership with CINFR, a number of companies, including Green First, Ecom, now Interfor, and others, will offer up areas to be planted such that seedlings can be treated, and then appropriate research undertaken to assess the impact of the mycorrhizal treatment on the survival, the growth, and the potential for the use of that product to enhance growth in a manner that reduces the need for herbicides. So there's more information, or a little bit more information in the press release, and certainly more information on this will evolve over the next few months. And just to say that current activity is focused on gaining some retrospective on previous application of the technology about 20 to 25 years ago. Across much of northeastern Ontario, areas of trees were planted with earlier versions of this mycorrhizal formulation. And so part of this project will look retrospectively, and part of it will look in a forward-looking way, establishing new trials in partnership with Wakatoan. I show a slide as an example of a very important development that allows us to do a couple of things. It allows us to identify and describe different forest ecosites where vegetation management is a challenge in terms of establishing conifer trees, and it allows us to compare those sorts of sites in Ontario to other jurisdictions like Quebec and have a common language, and be able to compare and contrast and then test different approaches that may be working in one location that could work in another. So it's more work to be done on this, I understand, but certainly the opportunity to be able to leverage learning in different areas in Ontario and also in other jurisdictions in relation to developing herbicide alternatives. This work, which, as I mentioned, Kim presented, I think on the previous webinar, it'll be very exciting to develop this further going forward and to ground truth, ground test these concepts. And as you see on again another slide taken from that presentation, the benefits of this type of activity, again, it's certainly a lot of technical information in a sense, but it also helps inform planning of forest renewal at all different stages. New forest inventory, a new forest inventory is being developed for the Gordon Cousins Forest, for the Romeo Millette Forest, for the Missinaba Forest, based on LiDAR information. That will provide a lot of new information about the forest. There's soils information being gathered. At the same time, there's a lot of local and historical information that also will inform decision making. So all to say, these sorts of tools and these developments allow us to act and think not only in an operational way, but also strategically in terms of tactics and approaches to herbicide reduction. And so conclude by again recognizing all of the participants, that were at every phase of expansion and reaching out and through various field trips and so on. That collaboration has resulted in significant new progress towards the objective. There's certainly a ways to go, and as the NRCan project and engagement is reaching a threshold here. Well, where to from here? Where that do we extend that? Do we enhance that? Do we all to say there? It's been heartening to see the interest from many other forest managers across Ontario and beyond. The involvement of First Nation communities, local and beyond. Many forest managers now have herbicide reduction objectives within management plans. There's been a lot of effort and certainly support from provincial and federal agencies as well. and so the commitment to continue and is sustained and remains and is growing in terms of those that are contributing, and so very much looking forward to future reports and next steps and efforts. With that, I invite any questions or comments. Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you, Chris. That was excellent. I'm looking forward to